girls, welcome back to my podcast. I'm your host Vivian Rose, and if you see all this in the background, if you're watching the video version over Spotify, I just got out some outfits, so of course there's going to be clothes everywhere. I'm so sorry, but I'm actually so excited to talk about this episode because I actually have a doctor on here. We're going to be talking about how to master your emotions as a teenager because this is such a big topic that I feel like is not talked about enough. So I'm so excited to get into it. Let's get into this week's weekly little bullet points in review. So first of all, we have our fashion icon of the week, which is Hailey Bieber. I seriously am so obsessed with Hailey Bieber right now. Like, her style is so everything to me, and I could just I feel like she can completely just style like a black blazer with I don't even know, some cute trousers and make it a completely cute outfit. Like, that is the most basic thing, but she can completely take that from 0 to 10. And I'm just so obsessed with that look right now. So I'm so into Hailey Bieber style. And let's also talk about her Pilates style, like the way she wears the aloe yoga sets. She'll have matcha in her hand. Literally, to me, iced drinks are like a accessory. Like, if you have iced coffee or iced matcha, it's literally an accessory to me. So I just love that so much. But also, I just love Rhodes so much. Rhodes Skin, I feel like she just completely did amazing with that. The marketing, the planning, the design, everything is so minimalistic. It's perfect for that specific target audience, and I just love that so much. And I just love so many of her outfits. I have my notes on my phone, so I just love so many of her outfits. And a lot of her YouTube videos, she has Vogue Beauty Secrets, a Vogue 7 Days, 7 Looks, and then a whole bunch of other stuff on YouTube. But let's talk about my current obsession. So this week, I am so obsessed with 360 by Charli XCX. I love that song right now. It is so good. It's so catchy. And Apple by Charli XCX, I just feel like Brat Summer goes all year. Like Brat Fall, Brat Winter, Brat anything. I just love Charli XCX so much. Brat is just so good. So it's definitely one of my current obsessions. Next is watching American football. Now, my favorite team did not make it into the playoffs, so I'm a little bit sad about that. But I still love watching American football. I love the Bills. I love the Bengals. I love those type of teams. Literally my favorite. I love watching football. It's so fun. I love the Ravens, the Eagles. Those really good teams are just my favorites to watch. I love those teams. Okay, next is one of my new obsessions are my new StylishTrendz bling glosses. If you didn't know, I have my own brand, StylishTrendz, and I have these bling lip glosses. For me, it's always been a dream to have cute lip glosses that are also fashion accessories, and I feel like it's so hard to find that because you get all these lip glosses. They're cute, but they're not cute enough to be okay, I'm in LA right now, I'm slaying, you know what I mean? So I just absolutely love my lip glosses. I have a link to them in the description down below so you guys can check them out, but they are bling and they are keychains, so you can hook them onto your phone case, your makeup bag, your purse, literally anything. I'm just so obsessed with that right now. Also, I love knee-high boots year-round, though. You guys know how much I love knee-high boots. They are so cute. They're just my thing, literally. Knee-high boots and leather jackets are the move for me. So, I love that stuff. So I'm going to wear it so often. But that is one of my favorite current obsessions right now. Vogue Beauty Secrets while I do my daily skincare is so much fun. I love to do that so much. It's so fun. And it's just it's so aesthetic, it's just such a blast. I just love to do that. It really helps me to romanticize my life and just enjoy my skincare routine more. And then lastly, Sol de Janeiro 68. I love Sol de Janeiro 68 so much. I literally ran out of the whole thing. I have to buy another one, but right now I've been using this Dior Blooming Bouquet because I have not bought in Sol de Janeiro 68 yet. I kind of want to use all of my other perfumes first before I go buy another perfume because it's I'm not really using them all, But yeah, those are my current obsessions of the week. And I kind of want to let me just say this. So on each episode, I may do different things at the beginning because I feel sometimes if I have more time to record, I'll do It Girl Glam, I'll do my current obsessions, fashion icon of the week, currently trending in fashion. I'll do all that stuff if I have time to record like that. But if I don't, then I'll just get right into the episode. So today I actually have time to record some segments and stuff. So I'm going to get into It Girl Glam. So right now, It Girl Glam for me is my go-to mascara combo. So I'm not doing a whole lot of mascara today because I'm just at home. But usually when I go somewhere, I use L'Oreal Telescopic. I love that mascara. Then I do Bad Gal Bang. If I want more, then I'll if I want more of a dramatic look, I'll do what is it? Benefit Their Real mascara. And then sometimes I will go on top with, I forgot what it's called, but it's another mascara. No, that's it. That's actually it. I thought I had Tarte Man Eater mascara. It makes it look more full. So Telescopic is for length. Their Real mascara is for the dark color. Man Eater mascara is for the full look. I just love that so much. So that is kind of my little It Girl Glam this week, my favorite little go-to mascara look. And then now for currently trending in fashion, Right now, what's currently trending to me, and I see this all the time, are like chunk on top of chunk accessories. Like, I just feel like there are so many accessories out there. Like, people are just wearing like necklaces on top of necklaces. Like, you see this right here. If you're watching the video, you can see like I have on layered necklaces. But like, what's trending right now is just like so many necklaces. Like, have you ever watched Lacey Shops on YouTube or TikTok or anything? She wears so much jewelry. I feel like she's literally the definition of currently trending chunky jewelry. Like, literally all the rings, all the bracelets, the accessories, the earrings, the like hair accessories, all that type of stuff is literally currently trending. I've seen it so much recently on like my For You page and stuff. So if you want to be like more on trend, then do a lot more accessories and jewelry and like bracelets. But next is An It Girl's Guide to Wellness, Living Glamorously while living an even more it girl life. My favorite. So right now we're going to talk about how to get out of a slump, because to me getting out of a slump is so important, because like I feel like in the wintertime we just get so much in a slump, like it's kind of like I don't feel like doing anything, and I feel like you can't really be that type of person, because like we have goals to achieve. It's the new year, we have things we want to do in this month. Literally every month of the year we have different goals. So I'm going to teach you exactly how to get out of a slump. So my favorite thing, number one, is to acknowledge your feelings. Sometimes you have to sometimes I feel like we try to push through burnout and push through a slump, but we have to actually acknowledge the fact that we are in burnout and we are in a slump. So we have to move on from this. So just try to, I don't know what that is. Okay. So just try to, some notification came up, but just try to get out of your slump. But firstly, by acknowledging the fact that you are in a slump and that you may be trying to push yourself too hard. This is actually a good sign, because this is actually gonna hit you before you hit burnout, and burnout is much harder to get out of than a slump. So that's the first part. Acknowledge your feelings. Number two is to romanticize your life. In general, makes it so much easier to get through different things. Like, you're thinking about, oh my god, I'm in a slump. Okay, so I'm in a rut. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything. But making things more fun, that is what motivates me to get up and do stuff. Like if you make things more fun. Next is creating a reset routine. For me, when I'm in a slump, I love to have a total reset, just like getting back on my sleep schedule, going back to eating my healthy whole foods, like doing my little everything shower, cleaning up my room, and I can't even be talking because like my room is so messy. I told you guys, I was just getting some clothes out, so how it is with teen girls. Like, you're just going through all of your clothes, you're just throwing things all over the place. But I just truly feel like having a reset routine truly makes me feel better, because I just feel like I'm back at center. Like, I'm not up and I'm down, I'm just back to center, and then I can just keep going up, and it's just perfect. I just love having a reset routine. My next step is to move your body. I love to get my body moving, to exercise, go on a walk, do Pilates, do cardio, anything, because I just feel like exercise makes me so happy internally. It's just one of my favorite things to do. And then also setting small goals is one of my favorites too. I love that I have such big goals, of course, but setting smaller, more achievable goals lets you get to that point. It's never just about the end goal, it's also about the day-to-day. So I always recommend setting smaller goals. And then one of my favorite things to do is just to set myself up for success. And what I mean by that, start with positive. I love to surround myself with positivity, because that is one of the biggest things. Because I feel like if you're thinking about negative thoughts all the time, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, you're not able to stay centered into positive emotions. And I just love to stay positive with everything that I do. Just seeing positivity in everything, it just makes it so much more better and so much more easier to get through different things like school, friendships, relationships, emotions, everything. That is it for this week's little intro. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, but now let's get into the actual depth of the episode, which I'm so excited to talk about: how to master emotions with Dr. Audrey Schnell. I'm so excited. Let's get right into it. Today I have a very special episode that I'm so excited to record, because this is such a big topic, not just in teenagers' lives, really in anyone's lives. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic, and we have an amazing special guest in this episode. You can go and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Audrey Schnell. My background is in clinical psychology and research, and I've come full circle back to working one-on-one with people and in groups. So not therapy, but I'm a life coach, emotional intelligence coach, and I help people overcome self-sabotage, remove the obstacles that are stopping them from getting the results they want.
That's awesome. And it's crazy, because that's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm doing dual enrollment right now, so that I can transfer to university to be a clinical psychologist. So it's so cool to meet someone who already does that. It's just awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Let's get into the actual episode. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is, What exactly is emotional intelligence, and how can teens benefit from developing it, just like in any aspect of their life?
Oh my God. It's never more essential than when we're adolescents because we are, I mean, we've all been there, fueled by hormones. Basically, think of yourself on drugs. And our emotions are all over the place. And at least typically, when I was growing up, and I think this is still true, nobody really guides us through adolescence. Our brains aren't developed yet. Your brain isn't really developed till you're about 25. So, of course, in adolescence, even 20s, early 20s, we just don't understand what the future holds, and we don't understand our emotions. And emotional intelligence at its heart is about self-awareness and empathy, which is other awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to modulate our emotions so that our quote unquote feelings aren't running the show. Don't trust your feelings.
Yeah. And I love how you broke it down so easily, so like anybody can understand that. And then when you said it's kind of like your brain isn't developed till you're 25, I actually didn't even know that. So that's actually really interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, when you're, and at that age, and even still now, we have a hard time imagining what the next decade or the next two. I mean, even in my 50s, I really didn't understand what being in my 60s was going to be like. And I know that when I talk to many of my friends who are in their 50s, they don't see it yet. That your 60s are really different in so many ways. All the classic songs, I hope I'm dead by the time I'm 25. I mean, 40 sounds old when you're 15.
That's absolutely so true. Like for me, like it's I guess it is hard to understand because for me I'm 17 and I I haven't even imagined my life if I'm ever like in my 30s and stuff. I've never even imagined that. So you're so
No,
right.
no, we don't think about the future because our brains don't go there yet. I mean, 2 minutes to a 2-year-old feels like forever. And we're not really very much past that. You know, I can, and there are benchmarks, so when I was, I don't know, 18 and 19 and was dumped by my boyfriend at the time,
Hmm.
I can still remember the pain. I can still remember how miserable and life was over. And we don't, and now that gave me a benchmark. I knew I'd recover. I knew you get over things. We don't understand that until it starts to happen to us and we learn that our emotions come and go, that we get overhurt. And I'm not talking about trauma, I'm talking about basic life. I mean, we need help getting over trauma, and pretty much everything is trauma. But that experience taught me so much, which I would have never believed at the time.
Yeah, I mean that makes so much sense. And then when you said literally when you said everything is trauma, that was so real. Because if you think about it, pretty much a lot of things are. Even just like when you're younger, your elementary school, and like let's say this random kid like is like rude to you, you remember that like 10 years
Yeah.
later, and it makes so much sense.
And this may divert our conversation a little bit, but I think what happens, not only can we not envision being 60 when we're 17, we don't remember at 67 how my 17-year-old self processed life events.
Wow.
So I'll give you a classic example. So, anything can be traumatic. It doesn't have to be like a 911 call.
Hmm.
And so often we look back at, yeah, my mom forgot to pick me up at daycare when I was 5 as being no big deal. You know, we don't think about it now. We don't tie it to trauma, but to a 5-year-old, that's traumatic. And when we don't make the connection as an adult, like, oh, I have abandonment issues, because we look back and think, oh, of course that wasn't traumatic. Well, it was to a 5-year-old.
Yeah. That honestly, like, that just tied two separate things in my head. Like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought about that. That something so simple can come back like down the road, years and years. Wow,
Oh,
that's actually
yeah.
really interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And we still have a 2-year-old inside, and we still have a 15-year-old inside, and we have to watch when that comes up. And, the world is so, especially at our younger ages, we're so different even at 15 from when we were 5.
Hmm.
And so many things can trigger how we react. I mean, we talk about emotional triggers. Well, yeah. And when you're in them, it's really hard to, part of emotional intelligence is recognizing the, just because I feel, and I'll be melodramatic here, just because I feel like I wish I were dead, doesn't really mean that that it's an emotion. It will go away for most people.
Hmm.
With it, emotions always go like this, ups and downs.
Yeah. How can teens identify the root causes of their emotional challenges, like self-sabotage or things like that? Like, how can teens kind of like just see like what was the cause?
I'm just going to be really honest. I think you need to work with a therapist or a coach,
Hmm.
because we don't see it. We need that objective relationship with someone we trust
Yeah.
to help us see what we can't see. But when you're young, you really can't see.
Hmm.
And so I know for myself, I was probably more in my 20s. When I was in school, you had to have an internship and go through therapy yourself. I wouldn't be the person I am now if I hadn't been in therapy at that point in my life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I feel like a lot of people, when they think about therapy, they think you have to be hurt to need therapy. But I feel like everybody needs
No,
therapy.
it's, or coaching. I mean, if you've really got deep, deep, deep issues to work out, then therapy might be the path. But if it's more understanding your emotions, education, help setting goals,
Hmm.
looking at and explaining and helping us learn how to overcome obstacles, what's going on with us, we can't see it,
Hmm.
especially when we're young, because we don't have enough experience. And I
Yeah,
like to say good judgment comes from experience. Experience usually comes from bad judgment.
that's that's like that could be like on a shirt or like on like a notebook. You know how they put like those quotes on those
Yeah.
notebooks and stuff. That's so interesting. I This is already so much fun. Like, I'm just feel like I'm learning so much, and so many people can
Oh,
learn
thank
so many
you.
things as well.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes me feel really, really good, because I was an adolescent therapist for a long time. I was on an adolescent medicine grant, and we're lucky we survive adolescence. We really are. I mean, your hormones are, youth is wasted on the young. Like, I've never heard anything more true than that. Um, we have energy, we have hormones, we have our whole lives in front of us. And to make the most of it, working with a coach, I think is amazing. Is
I
amazing.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Now, what are some simple or actionable tools that teens can use to gain better control over their emotions?
Well, well, the first is our biology, and we need sleep, and need good nutrition. We can't get out of survival mode where our emotions are taking over. If we're tired, think about it this way, what triggers 2-year-olds
Hmm.
to have screaming fits? Being tired and being hungry.
Yeah.
No different as we get older. No different. Nothing will bring out my 2-year-old like being tired or being hungry. So, really taking care of our bodies, which we often don't appreciate when we're younger because we have so much energy. Sleep and good nutrition is the first place to start.
Okay. So you mean like eating like healthy whole foods, different stuff like that?
Yeah, avoid, rule of thumb, avoid ultra processed food, junk food. I was fortunate in that I actually, and I don't know why exactly, I became a vegetarian in my early, like around 18 or 19. And so I got very interested in nutrition. So I had the good fortune of really paying attention to what I was eating
Mm-hmm.
from an early age, I'd say. So, avoiding sugar, avoid energy drinks, avoid ultra processed food, avoid fast food, and eat whole food, whole natural foods. I mean, back to basics,
Yeah.
protein and vegetables and good fat, healthy fat.
Yeah. I love that because I feel like it's overlooked a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Eating like actually good foods because like it's just so easy just to go out and get fast food and stuff, and it's just I feel like it makes me feel better after I eat if I'm
Well,
eating
sure.
something nutritious.
And you have to appreciate that food companies are not your friend. They have designed and processed food to be hyper palatable, which means they taste really, really good and make me want more. So I sell more.
I didn't even know that either. It's
Yeah.
just it's almost like when I'm out and I'm buying like actually like groceries and stuff that I really want to eat and it's like good foods, it's always like they put the bad foods first,
Oh,
like in front of your face before they put the good foods.
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fast food became a thing. If you walk in the grocery store, most of the aisles avoid. Just what do they say? Stick to the perimeter. Well, think about it. What's the perimeter of the grocery store? I'm thinking about going to the grocery store myself. You walk in, there's vegetables on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
then there's the meat, then there's usually the dairy. So the rule of thumb is stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. Now, anything labeled doesn't have gluten, even though it never had gluten, like meat,
Mm-hmm.
somehow we now think is a good thing, or sugar free. Well, now we're getting a lot of artificial sweeteners,
Yeah.
or eat yogurt. A lot of things are labeled as healthy that aren't healthy. You look at, a container of yogurt, first ingredient is like, or second is sugar. It's got 53 grams of carbs and they're telling you it's healthy.
And
And we know
also,
so much more. And so what I'm saying, eating good food, since you seem to really like the science, I'll tell
mhm,
you that, all that sugar, spikes are glucose.
mhm.
And we know that a lot of chronic disease, which starts when we're young, is related to how stable and low normal our glucose levels are.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I thought that stuff pops up later. I didn't know it started like now.
No,
Oh.
I, I believe it as actually it's one of the reasons I think I'm as healthy as I am at 67 was because I was a vegetarian. I avoided all that stuff.
Hmm.
But we plant the seeds uh, way back when.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm an epidemiologist, so I read and have always read a lot of nutrition research. And it's no wonder people are fed up or confused because, one day they're telling you butter will kill you, and the next day they're telling you eat butter, margarine will kill you. And part of it is we learn as we continue with research.
Hmm.
Part of it is people are really hard to study. They don't follow directions. You can't do a lot of things to them legally. So people are really hard to study. And I'll give you an example of what happens. There was just a big Stanford study that was in all the papers,
Hmm.
and it was a twin study. Okay, we've controlled for genetics. Twins, are identical twins are identical, right? So we give one a paleo diet and we give the other one a plant-based diet. And we study them for, I don't know, a few months. And the plant people do much better. We're telling you, you got to have a plant-based diet because look how good these plant-based people did. What they don't tell you is when you look at the analysis, the statistics, they're really not very meaningful. And it was funded by a company that produces plant-based meats.
It was like a marketing strategy
It
almost.
is. And there was another one recently that all the papers in the groceries took off on, which was intermittent fasting was bad for you. Well, first of all, it wasn't actually even a study. It was just an abstract. And it was like in mice or something. We're misled a lot. And it's not the researchers' fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's how it's communicated, often by the media. So unfortunately, we have to be really careful and fact check and have resources we trust, because it's confusing. But for you and your audience, I would say the two things that I would focus on are nutrition and sleep, and having a coach that you trust to provide. And it's such a classic thing. You don't want to listen to your parents, but you'll listen to it. In my experience, adolescents they were actually wanted to be around adults, just not their parents.
Yeah.
It's normal because you're at a stage where you're developing your own identity. And other adults are much less threatening. So I think having a coach that you trust, if you want to grow, if you value learning. I did a lot of reading in my teens, I think, which I'm a big reader. That made a big difference. There were lots of books that changed my life.
Books that you really enjoyed.
Trying to remember some of the ones that had the biggest effect, and who knows if they're even in print. And I started practicing yoga in the 70s. So, Be Here Now, Ram Dass was one of the first, I think, quote unquote, spiritual books that I read. I'll have to think of some more and I'll send you a list. And there's so much out there. Reading isn't enough, knowledge isn't enough, but being in situations where, just like we're talking, where you see things that you didn't see before, it catapults you.
I seriously love when you said it's kind of like adolescence. You want to be around adults, but not your parents, because I feel like that's so true. Because like you're around your parents 24/7, you want to be around other people too.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like that's so true. And when you said about how it goes back to the basics always, I feel like it always does.
Usually the simple answer is the right answer in most cases. Occam's razor, maybe? Can't remember. But yeah, sometimes we have to go back to basics, especially when life feels, which it does at that age, so chaotic. Where our emotions are powerful at any age, but they're especially powerful. It's like, giving a 15-year-old an atom bomb when you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I think we're all lucky we survive adolescence.
That's like the perfect analogy, I feel like. Now, what are some techniques like that you like to use to help teens reframe from negative emotions into like something empowering or something positive?
It's an amazing question. I think it requires, first of all, sort of calming our emotions, calming down because we can't think. The simplest way to do that is to control your breathing. So it's not for nothing that people will say, take a deep breath. If we're nervous, if we're wound up, our breathing is shallow, we're tense, we can't think. One is to take a deep breath, stretch, move, take a time out, and try to, and we see so many things as frightening and negative. I don't know why this memory sticks with me, but I had to get film.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back to film, we didn't have digital. Film developed at the drugstore, whatever. And I don't know how old I was, but probably like 16. And I accidentally chose not to print little pictures, but big pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still talk about trauma that wouldn't be trauma now. Went to get them, and it was like 4 times what I thought they should cost. And I went into panic. I mean, I didn't have the money. I made a mistake. Yeah, I mean, and it probably now was like, it was probably like $30 instead of 15,
Yeah.
which to me would be, to most of us, oh, that's nothing. It's just a little bit more money. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I can't tell you. So, keep in mind we have a limited perspective right now, and that's why you really do need trusted adults that can help you navigate, what's going on, and to remember that this is what I'm feeling. So the first step is to breathe. The second most helpful step is to label what you're feeling.
Okay. I love that so much. And I love how you give specific examples too. And then when you said your memory, back when the price went up, I would completely be scared too, because it's like I'm so shocked. I don't know what to do whatsoever.
Yeah, no. And you go through oh my God, I'm afraid to tell my parents, or what am I going to do? And so having an adult you trust, like being able to get your parents involved or another adult to help you, and to learn to label our feelings. If we can name it, we can tame it. So true. I mean, what do we do with, 3 or 4-year-olds? Tell Tommy you're angry, Billy. Don't hit him.
That was hilarious. That leads right into the next section about overcoming self-sabotage. So, firstly, since we know self-sabotage is a big challenge for many teens and really just anybody, how can they recognize when they're sabotaging themselves emotionally, and what steps can you take to stop doing it?
Well, we are biologically wired for self-sabotage because we are wired to avoid danger, and any change is dangerous. We're wired to conserve energy, and so we will always be wired. It should be called self-survival. Survival will always be wired for self-survival, which means don't change anything, even if it's something I want. So that's the first step, is there's no shame, there's no blame. This is, I just got to work with my biology here. And so it's always rooted in fear. And it can be blatantly obvious, like I'm not going to go to the gym because I have to clean the house. Self-sabotage. Or it can be very subtle, like, oh, I'm afraid to apply to colleges because I'm afraid I won't get in. So instead, I'll say, well, I didn't really want to go to college, so I'm not going to fill out any applications. So that self-doubt, that not going for what we want, is always a clue that we are sabotaging ourselves.
That's so true, because I just applied to some colleges and I was like, sometimes you feel like that because this is like the biggest thing in my life right now. So you're just thinking about that, like, oh my gosh, what if I don't get in? But you can't let that stop you, because you may even get in. You may get in.
You don't know. And it's classic. If I don't try, I won't fail. Or I won't succeed. Both can be equally as frightening. And procrastination, how many times okay, you want another little bumper sticker thing?
Sure.
Discipline will set you free. The more discipline you have, the more freedom you have.
Okay, I
And
love that.
I'll give you a very simple example. Tax time. Most people want to avoid doing their taxes, right?
Hmm.
They know they have to do it, but they don't start doing it until like April 14th because they've procrastinated. What happens? First of all, they're under a lot of pressure,
Hmm.
and nobody works better under pressure. When people say that, just know they're fooling themselves. Nobody works better under pressure. You just work. Makes you work. You're relying on pressure to work. And, my boyfriend calls me with, well, we're older, so imagine you're a little older and you're doing your taxes, and your boyfriend calls you, the morning of April 14th and says, I just got free tickets to the Bahamas. Let's jump on a plane this afternoon. Well, you can't go. You have no freedom. Why? Because you waited to the last minute. Discipline equals freedom.
I was thinking about it like in myself for school too. Like if I wait to like the last day to do an assignment, like deadline wise, like I will put like let's say for example, if I had like 2 weeks to do something, but then that last day, it's almost like you lock in so hard that you do it better than you would have done it the whole past 2 weeks because you have to get it done.
Yeah, and you don't do it better. But what you have done is you do it because of the pressure. Nobody works better under pressure. You just work. You've relied on urgency to create action, which is never better. And you've allowed the fear, the avoidance, which again, we're biologically wired to. There's no shame involved, but we have to learn. And some of that is experience. I know this didn't kill me the last time. It worked out okay. I'll do it again. So it's, again, experience is a good teacher. And in our teens, we haven't had a lot of experience that we have by the time we're in our 60s.
Yeah.
So avoiding. When you go in survival mode, which is anxiety and pressure, your brain does not work as well.
Mm-hmm. I always feel like psychology, it almost goes back just to how the body works.
Learning psychological principles, how do we work? Well, we avoid pain more than we'll seek pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
We don't understand consequences yet. Consequences are powerful. We don't have a future focus, which we need. We don't like it when our actions don't match our beliefs. So we have to be very careful about how we handle what's called cognitive dissonance. We want our behaviors to match our words, so we can easily come to the wrong conclusion. Didn't pass this test. Well, I must be dumber than I think. We have to listen to our words, watch what we're saying to ourselves. Words are so powerful. We need to be as objective as possible. And since we can't be objective with ourselves, we need an adult we trust.
I completely agree with that, especially how you were talking about earlier. You can also have like if you just need like basic things like understanding your emotions, like a life coach. And I
Yeah.
feel like throughout everything you're saying, like the life coach can completely help you through all of it.
Oh,
Just like even
absolutely.
acknowledging your feelings.
I didn't have anybody, and that's why we need mentors and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me, at 20, nobody asked me, well, where do you want to be at 30 and what do you need to do to get there? It never occurred to me to do it, to think about 10 years ahead. Life planning, future focus, having someone who can help us understand our emotions, label them, how to work with them is such a gift. You will get so much farther and so much farther faster.
Now, how do you guide young people to build resilience after like emotional setbacks or like failures?
That's when support is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And having an adult that you trust, someone older, saying, this is temporary. This failure isn't failure. It's part of the process. This is feedback. We actually, it's kind of the opposite of what we we might think is that actually in those young years, we crave authority.
Mm-hmm.
We crave somebody to tell us and help us make sense of the world and what happens. Your first heartbreak will not kill you. Your first your first time you get fired or the first time you do something wrong will not kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Will not, it's not failure. It's part of the process. We can't, at that age, we can't see it.
Yeah, I agree. And then I always feel like when I am talking to my parents about things, they like help me to see the other side. Because I feel like sometimes when you're so in the moment, you can't see anything outside of it.
No, that's our emotions controlling our brain and running the show. And that's really hard to manage. So we need help. We need someone we trust who can kind of see the bigger picture. And the reverse of that is, I think the pendulum swung the other way. So at one time, parents were really, it was really strict parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Then we swung to the opposite, unconditional love and everything is okay. And what happens is, and this happens to very smart kids who get through school easily, they don't know how to handle failure because they've never had a thumbs down.
That makes a lot of sense because I feel like when you're younger, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, they just hurt my feelings. They told me like I didn't do good at this, but then it makes it easier in the long run. Like I feel like for me, because my parents always gave me constructive feedback, like I think you did good, but I feel like you could do better. Because then that makes me excel even more. And now I can take like when my teachers give me constructive feedback because I've done this before. And I just feel like
Yeah.
sometimes when kids are like when it's just too much, like just I don't want to say like positivity because obviously you need positivity in your life, but it's almost like too much and nobody's telling you what you're doing wrong. You know.
Right. You need honest feedback and feedback you trust.
Mm-hmm.
And support, not, well, gee, you got a B, you failed, but you got a B. Okay. Maybe you got a C, maybe you got a D. What is this about? Do you need more help? Was this not your thing? Or, our knee-jerk reaction is often to say, I did the best I could. But
Yeah.
sometimes we have to go, and I have to do this to myself all the time when I say that, like, is that really true? Did I really just do the best I could, or could I have done better? And feedback is so valuable, and you won't get it from your friends
Mm-hmm.
because your friends typically don't want to tell you bad things unless you have really bad friends.
Yeah.
And it's more about them than you. But you need somebody who will give you honest feedback.
I completely understand with that too. Like I feel like the feedback it makes you better than you were before every single time you do it because like I love like there's this feature that I have in my school where it's kind of like if you get anything less than like a perfect score, it has teacher feedback. So the teacher tells you exactly what you can do next time in order to get an 100 on the next assignment. And it's like
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much because you would never know if nobody gave you any feedback. So
You don't know what to reach for if you don't know what the next level looks like.
mm-hmm.
I look back now and it would have been so valuable. I don't even know how I got to college because nobody in my family had gone to college. I know what was possible
Mm-hmm.
for me. So, just what's the common way? Just skating through things isn't always to our best advantage.
Yeah. I agree. Now, let's talk about building emotional mastery. So, how can teens strengthen their emotional intelligence, like to handle the pressures of school, social media, and just like friendships, just
Yeah.
like relationships in general?
Yeah, God, I am so glad I didn't grow up with social media. So again, I think it's about having trusted relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think is really important. And I think having lots of different experiences
Mm-hmm.
is helpful. Volunteering teaches us what we like, what we don't like to do, gives us exposure to other people, other situations. So, the healthy experiences I think are really important, and really learning how to label our feelings, to know what we're feeling. And sometimes we need somebody else, again, to help us sort through that because we don't have the words yet.
Yeah.
And we don't have the brain and we don't have the objectivity. But the more experience, good, hopefully not really bad experiences,
Yeah.
can I be really vulnerable?
Sure, of course.
One of the things, and I must have been about 17, or I think I was 17. I don't think I had graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a concert with a friend. It's the only time in my life that I tried drugs. And I don't know what it was. Even I don't quite remember.
Mm-hmm.
PCP was popular then, or just marijuana. I was so frightened of the experience. I never did drugs again. That experience taught me so much. I was lucky, nothing bad happened
Mm-hmm.
to me. Got home safely, and I thought, I don't want this experience again.
And that's really scary, especially
It
to be
was
so
really
young
scary.
too. Wow.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't want to feel this again.
Like, I feel like when you're in environments like that, you feel so pushed to do things. Like
Oh yeah,
for me, like if I'm around, I always believe that the people you're around, you start to become them, especially if you hang out with them so much. And it's like you
exactly.
hang out with certain people who do certain things, you're going to start doing the same things they do. And that even
Oh,
happened in my own life. I understand that.
oh, absolutely. And you'll laugh, but I'll tell you, my new mantra is, I want to be the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah, you can learn from everybody.
I want to learn, I want to be safe, and I want to learn. And so, yeah, I think experiences. One thing, let me give you one really practical thing your audience can do.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the website, I think it's the Center for Nonviolent Communication.
Mm-hmm.
They have a needs and feelings inventory. So a whole list of needs and feelings. So you can start to learn different words that work, that resonate with how you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and start to connect. When I need this and I don't get it, I feel like this.
Mm-hmm.
So language is crucial. I mean, what separates us, like, from our dogs? Language. So it starts to give you language for understanding and making the connections between our actions and our feelings, and how to words that we can use to label them.
Yeah. And that sounds amazing because I feel like sometimes you're so lost for words. Like
Yeah,
you don't know what to say, but it's like you can describe it, but you don't have a word just in
yeah,
general.
it's like a multiple choice test. I can't come up with the answer, but if you give me a multiple choices, I can figure it out.
Yeah. I completely understand with that. Like I just feel like it's so much easier. Even when you just have multiple choice in general, like just on a random test, it's like I hate short answer because if I don't know the answer, I can't like do process of elimination, just thinking,
Yeah,
okay, this isn't right, so this must be right.
yeah, yeah. So learning to experience failure um, is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Building that resilience, um, whether it's was my first breakup or something else, loss of a parent. I've lost both my parents, and that's how you grow, and that's how you learn and have a new benchmark for what you can. A lot of success depends on how well you handle stress, which is emotional intelligence. We know from studies
Mm-hmm.
that 80% of success is determined not by your IQ, but by emotional intelligence. Being able to handle your emotions and the emotions of others.
What role do you think that, like when you were talking about finding different words and stuff to describe your emotions and your feelings, so what role do you think that understanding those words and just understanding the brain in general like comes to play in mastering emotions, kind of like how you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, no, it's so crucial. It's our first of all, going into the process of, okay, let me figure out what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
automatically engages your higher brain. So it's a disruption. that you want. And then again, being able to name it helps you take back your power.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why language, being able to label our emotions, is so important.
Yeah.
It's funny, a lot of psychology or human experience comes through in myths and fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
The Hero's Journey, Joseph Campbell, that was another Change Your Life book. Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, she had lots of challenges. And she had companions and her dog. And that's how we, learn to what we can handle.
Mm-hmm.
And label, I'm trying to think of the fairy tales. Rumpelstiltskin.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, go read it. It's a fairy
Okay.
tale. And this woman, this ogre or whatever he was, has this girl trapped in his power, and she has to spin straw into gold. And the only way she can escape, the only way he'll let her go, is if she learns his name. And so there's the whole process of her, kind of sneakily listening and finally hearing his name. And it's a myth. There's so much wisdom in that fairy tale. Because once we can name how we feel, it takes us out of being controlled by that emotion.
What advice would you have given your younger self with emotional intelligence?
So much. That's sort of a standard. What would you tell your 13-year-old self? I would say you're capable of so much more than you know. Don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You're more powerful than you think. And dream bigger.
I think that's perfect too. And it's kind of like, I feel like sometimes, well, a lot of times, I feel like when you're older, you can kind of see how everything turned out. So it's kind of like you're not in the feelings anymore. You can just see, like, okay, well, I'm fine now. I made it out. And so it almost, when you look back at things that were so important to you then, it feels like, well, why did I even stress out about that? But it was so
Exactly. You have
big.
such a different perspective looking back. Things that feel huge, like my bill from the
Yeah.
Photoshop, things that seemed insurmountable at 17
Mm-hmm.
are a piece of cake when you're 30.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because I have older sisters too, and they tell me that stuff all the time. They're like, it's not that serious.
Not that serious. And believe me, that never stops. Things that I think are insurmountable now, I have a coach who will say, no, it isn't insurmountable. I've been there and I've worked through it. Here's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm farther down the road than you. So I know you can keep going.
Now, where can the listeners and everybody, where can they find your website and everything? I'll leave it in the link, but where can they find your stuff?
AudreySchnell.com
Okay, perfect.
is my website. I frequently do workshops, master classes. I work with all ages,
Mm-hmm.
from young to old, and I can also always do a 30-minute complimentary call to help people get on their path. And it's so crucial. It's just like saving money. The younger you are when you start,
Mm-hmm.
the better off you are as you get older.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I know I'm only 17 years old, but just thinking about things that, like, in my past few years, it's just thinking, like, wow, I really do wish I would have had a life coach now that I think about it.
I know. I happened to see a clip of, I think it was Miss America, maybe it was Miss Universe, I don't know. And it must have been Miss USA. And the woman who won was like, I don't know, 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
She was not just gorgeous. She was like a lieutenant in the Air Force. And she'd done something else, and she was in medical school or something. I'm like, I didn't do that. I felt like such a slouch, It's like, oh my God, what help is there for us? So aim big, aim high.
Guys, make sure to go check out her website, and I'm going to leave the link to the website that you're talking about, how you can like find words to identify your emotions.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that because I feel like that'll be very helpful for everybody too. And I had so much fun doing this conversation. Like,
Oh,
I
thank
learned
you.
so much from you, and it was just a blast. It was like my dream. I could never
Oh,
like I
you
love
can't imagine. You can't imagine how good that makes me feel.
because I loved it because it's the stuff that I truly love, and I just love psychology. I love anything like this. So it was just so much fun. I just thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And if there's ever a topic that comes up that you think I can talk on or help with, please reach out.
Of course, I will 100%. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. I had so much fun recording this episode. Make sure to check out all of her links in the description box down below because they're all super helpful, and it's super easy just to click the link and it takes you right to it. So make sure to go check that out, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.